the RFK Jr. campaign merely a stealth plot to throw the election to Donald Trump? Well, mainstream media figures are extremely concerned this is the case after a Kennedy campaign official made some suggestive comments. These comments were captured in a now viral video that was subsequently pulled down by its owner. RFK Jr.'s New York campaign director, Rita Palma, told a group of Republicans in New York they can help Donald Trump by voting for RFK Jr. if he gets on the ballot. Take a listen.
Things, I guess, will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day. But the Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy, is Biden. If the Republicans accepted the fact that New York, Maryland, Chicago, Illinois, California, New Jersey, Connecticut, most of the Northeast is going to go blue, why wouldn't we put our vote to Bobby and at least get rid of Biden and get those 28 electoral votes in New York? The card's a little wrong. It says 26 electoral votes. Give those 28 electoral votes to Bobby rather than to Biden, thereby reducing Biden's 270.
RFK Jr.'s camp did respond to the video. Amaryllis Fox, his campaign director, posted on X that Palma was merely hired as a ballot access consultant, and it was not part of their campaign strategy. She added, quote, the sole aim of which is to win the White House with votes from former Trump and Biden supporters alike. Fox did point to a recent Emerson College poll showing that when RFK Jr. voters are forced to pick between Biden and Trump, most go for Trump, a point the DNC seems to have overlooked in their quest to quash third parties.
Speaking of polls, a recent poll from Michigan by USA shows Biden edging out Trump with 45% over 41% in that state. Okay, so this video sent shockwaves all over social media and from the mainstream media, as I said, Politico, Rolling Stone, and on about, it's like, oh, they're saying the quiet part out loud. This is what we said all along. This is a secret effort to reelect Donald Trump. No, this is one campaign official speaking to Republicans, trying to convince Republicans to not vote for Donald Trump and instead vote for RFK Jr. Now, she did go, and we didn't play that part of it. I think she does start to go into, well, right, if Biden doesn't get, the 270 you need to win, then the election goes to Congress, and then here's how Trump could act, because Congress is not going to vote for RFK Jr., and the House delegation, right, leans Republican, and although I think it's the states, right, it starts to get a little dicey, but right, that's so that could end up for Trump if Biden doesn't get the whole doesn't get 270. So that's why that's really why people are concerned. But I don't care. Okay, who cares? Why does it matter?
I think this is silly for different reasons that I'm going to get to in a second. But I do want to push back a little bit. If she's making a pitch to Republicans to vote for Republicans, that has nothing to do with keeping down, Republicans voting for RFK Jr. That doesn't affect Biden getting to 270. If there were already Republicans, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump anyway. This pitch only works if she's making it to Democrats, which is why I think that argument, oh, who's it going to hurt? She's talking to a room full of Republicans, doesn't actually pass water. I mean, the reason that Democrats are upset is because they believe that RFK Jr. is presenting himself as a Democrat. He was running as a Democrat. He had emblazoned across his website, I'm a Kennedy Democrat, until he left the party. And that they're hoping that independent voters who might be frustrated with Joe Biden, but might otherwise but might bend the knee and vote for him, will instead go ahead and vote for RFK Jr., actually diminishing his ability to get votes in some of these blue states that she pointed to. That is the argument. Now, the reason why I think ultimately that this is an overreaction from Democrats is a point that you made earlier on, which is that all indications are that RFK Jr. is stealing more votes from Republicans than from Democrats. And that has to do with his message. It has to do with the kind of appeal that he has. And it has to do, frankly, with how much pushback and criticism he's gotten on mainstream liberal channels. So to the extent that RFK Jr. is not in the race come fall, it's going to probably inure to the benefit of Donald Trump.
Well, maybe. I mean, some of the polls show that when you move it from a two-way race to a three-way race, it seems it takes from both the Republican, from the Trump votes and the Biden votes, but it takes a little bit more from the Biden votes, even though intuitively I agree with you that he is making a pitch more to Republicans, and he is by far the RFK Jr. voters, according to polling, if they can't vote for RFK Jr., say they would rather vote for Trump. But the three-way polls show it eating into Biden a little bit more. Now, it may be different in different states. I think it's unclear. I think he clearly takes from both categories. He takes from people who are not going to vote for either of the candidates anyway, which is very characteristic of third-party efforts and independent efforts. But I just, like, at the end of the day, I don't. Why is it wrong or treated as sinister? Again, especially from the pro-democracy crowd, for a surrogate or some low-level person representing the campaign to make a pitch to voters like, oh no, how tactically to get more voters for RFK Jr. Of course, that's what they're trying to do. She wasn't even being dishonest about it. She was being transparent. So
But Robby, come on. I'm torn here because I simultaneously don't think it's that much of a cause for outrage, but also there is nothing anomalous about how this workers' remarks are being treated. In any other context, if this were a Biden employee who was saying that there was some scheme to kind of rig the election against Donald Trump's entire personality at this point is the idea that the election has been rigged against him. Or if there were a Republican operative, a Republican campaign worker that was filmed saying something about how we're going to trick disgruntled black and brown voters by lying to them about XYZ, but our real goals are just to diminish the Democrats, not actually serve their interests, that would be emblazoned all over the place.
The Democratic Party gives money to more, in several races in the midterms, gave money, or not gave money to, but funded ads for the more pro-Trump candidate in moderate districts, so that candidate would win the primary, so that they would ultimately win that district. They did that over and over again. It worked. It worked.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear from them that this kind of stuff is underhanded.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think a lot of progressives disagreed with Democrats' choice of repeatedly Pied Piper candidates in that way. But the crucial problem that Kennedy has to deal with here is that you have to own your hiring decisions. I mean, the buck stops at the top. And it's not that it's the end of the world that this woman was hired, but this is a big faux pas that they're going to have to take a hit for. Because ultimately, this woman was not only hired, she was giving a presentation in front of enough people with enough video cameras for this to have become a viral event. She was not some campaign staffer knocking doors in Des Moines who happened to be caught on their TikTok 3 years ago saying something unsavory. And so, this is, I think, if nothing else, a reflection of some vulnerabilities in how the campaign is being run and how official and stable it is. One point I do want to just read some actual stats. This is from The Hill, from a story about a week ago about the effect that RFK Jr. in fact has on a race, what the race looks like if it's a three-way race versus a two-way race between Biden and Trump. A Harris x Forbes poll taken March 25th found Trump leading Biden in a head-to-head matchup by 3 points. 46% to 43%. With Kennedy, West, and Stein in the race, Kennedy receives 12 points and Trump still leads Biden by 3 points.
Yeah.
So again, what is
not change?
No change. Yeah. So what's the big brouhaha, really?
I mean, I swear I'm not inventing or making.
No,
I have seen polls that showed Biden down. I mean, but I agree with you.
I've seen stuff the other way, for sure.
I agree with you that the impact is not clear, and he's definitely taking from both sides. And frankly, if the impact was more decisive one way or the other, it wouldn't change my mind about his candidacy, because he has every right to run. And if you don't like that your preferred candidate between Trump and Biden is let's say you prefer Biden, but he's going to lose if RFK Jr. is in the race for whatever, or the other way around, it doesn't matter, then that's the system's fault. Like, the third-party candidates the independent candidates are always running against the system, which disadvantages them anyway. So it's so rich to complain about that and then still have this winner-take-all system, and the public funding only kicks in if you get a certain amount of the vote. You can only be in the debates if those are that's an informal rule, but you have to be so important to qualify for that kind of stuff. It's so structurally against the parties. Lack of ranked choice voting. Yeah. Winner-take-all electoral system. These are problems that absolutely need to be fixed. And then people wouldn't throw their little tantrum about how, you're not voting for the lesser of two evils. How dare you? You hate democracy.
They need the tantrum. They need the ability to lean on that excuse, which is why they're also opposed to ranked choice voting. But that's a really strong point there, Robby. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.